Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I wanted to talk about a couple of the garden items I tried new this year that I'll definitely be trying again next year. So I recently put a video out talking about an item that I won't do again and why. And I'll go ahead and link to that video up here and down below. And I plan on doing some more of these videos as things progress and we finish up with our gardening, and I kind of try things out, the things that I've grown that are new, and let you know what I think about them. And so let me know in comments down below if this is helpful to you, if you like these kind of videos, because I think that it's good to have some real life, real people giving you some, not just looking stuff up on a web page, because I looked up those garden huckleberries and people were talking about them like they're all great, and I think they're horrible, and anyone else I've talked to that I know is a real person with skin on has said the same thing. They don't like them. But anyway, so hopefully you can find this helpful. And especially if you live in a climate like ours where we get probably more rain than most of you watching this, and our average is 120 inches of rain per year. Now, we are west of Seattle. Seattle thinks they get a lot of rain at 50 inches per year. We get 120 average, and we can get up to 160 inches. It's happened. So just to give you an idea where we're at. Now this summer we had a very cool, more cool than usual summer. We never really even had a summer. We only had 2 or 3 hot days, and the rest of the summer was more chilly. I wore a flannel shirt almost all summer long, so just to give you an idea. But anyway, one of the things I've been very happy with were the mango beets, and I'm really wishing I would have planted more of these. Now, if you've never heard of the Mammoth mango beets, these are typically grown for fodder for animals, but they are also for human consumption. And I figured I'd give them a try because somebody recommended them to me, I think a year or so ago, because here I have a hard time getting any decent size to the regular beets that I grow. And the Mammoth beets, for a Mammoth beet is actually tiny. These things can get mammoth. They can get this big. I've seen pictures of little girls holding them like babies, and they filled up their whole arms. So these can get quite large. So my guess is if you have a longer growing season and a hotter climate, you might be able to get the real big ones out of these. But for us in a shorter growing season and in a cooler climate, these did really good. So at least I can get some beet out of them. And so now here's the thing about the Mammoth beets that are quite different than your regular deep red beets, is these are very white on the inside. So here's some pictures of what they look like when they're cut open. They're actually quite interesting looking. Now, I really like the flavor. I tried a slice of it fresh right out of the ground, and I noticed right away it had a sweeter flavor than the other beets that I've tried to grow. But one thing you might want to consider, especially if you can grow the red beets really well, is that this is an assumption just based on what you see pretty much across the board. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, typically your produce, the more color it has to it, especially if it's a color that can stain just about anything like turmeric and red beets, that's going to be a pretty good indicator that they're going to be very, very nutrient dense. So considering that these are so light colored on the inside, they're likely not going to be near as nutrient dense as your deep red beets. However, since I can grow this a lot better than a deep red beet, I'm going to get a lot more nutrients from something like this because I'm getting more of it. And the thing I like about the lighter color is this means I can finally take a beet and chop it up and add it to soups and casseroles or even stir fries and not have to worry about it changing the color of the rest of the food around it. This is why I don't like to cook with turmeric a whole lot unless I'm making homemade macaroni and cheese, and I don't like to cook with beets. I usually only have them as a side dish because of the color. And I like my food to have more color to it and not all be the same color. But anyway, so I really liked the flavor of these, and when they cooked up they turned a little bit kind of a gray color, which I wouldn't call really pretty, but I tell you, I thought they were really tasty. So I steamed them, added a little butter and salt. I thought they tasted really, really good with just simple butter and salt and nothing else. And I can imagine if I was to add garlic and onion and things like that too, it would be really good. So very pleased with these. I recommend these for certain, and I think my guess is they will grow pretty much anywhere. And again, I think, you know, maybe the longer growing season in the warmer climate you have, you'll probably just see larger beets out of them. So anyway, love these. Definitely growing them again. Other thing new that I tried this year were these let's see if I can remember the name. Gill's Golden Pippin Acorn Squash. And the seed was sent to me from one of my subscribers up in Canada, because these were bred to grow in an area much like ours with the shorter growing season and cooler climate. And so, and these did decent. Now, I did only get a total of 4. I've already cooked one up and we had it for dinner. It was just the right size for Patrick and I to split in half. It was, I think it was about this size. And I was really happy with it. It kind of had more of a flavor that's somewhere between your standard acorn squash and maybe pumpkin, which is what I'd relate it to, which I thought was quite delicious. Now, zucchini will blow up no matter what the weather seems to do around here. But when it comes to squash like this, we just don't get quite as much if we have a really short and wet summer like we did this year. Now, if we get more sun, you know, so we get the more moderate, you know, that's typical for us, we tend to get more squash. Now, I have a lot of butternut squash out there growing, quite a few, but they're small and they're still a long way from even turning orange, because the ones I'm growing are the orange. And I'll talk about those if I ever get any to ripen up enough that I can try them. But anyway, these, I think if I try them again next year and we have a more typical summer like we would have, I'm guessing I would get a lot more of these. So I definitely want to try them again. And then these, I want to talk about these, even though this wasn't new to my garden this year. If you find a hard time growing a sweet pepper, I recommend these red Marconi peppers. Now, you can pick them green and they taste like a green bell pepper, or you can just let them get red. These were the first ones to turn red, so I picked these ones first. I have several more out there that are green. So they're the only sweet pepper I've been able to grow at all. Even though I have to do it in the greenhouse, even though all the other peppers like this, sweet peppers I've tried in the greenhouse, all I ever got was maybe one that was this big, a little tiny bell pepper like this, and it's like, it just wasn't worth it. But these ones, Jen from Jam at the Nut House sent these to me a few years ago, and last year I finally remembered to try them, and I was really happy with them. And I'm just growing them in pots in my greenhouse, and they seem to do pretty good. I wouldn't mind seeing a lot more off of them, but I would guess in places where you get a longer growing season and warmer weather, I'm guessing you would probably see more production on your Marconi pepper plants. And also because I'm growing them in pots. Typically anything you grow in pots isn't going to produce as much as it is if you put it in the ground. But I put it in the pots because I don't have any room in the ground for them, and I worry about them not getting enough sun down there anyway, where if I put them up on the shelf, then they're right up in the window in the greenhouse and they can get a lot more sun. But anyway, I do recommend the sweet Marconi peppers, and I'm not sure, but I think maybe you can find these on Baker Creek. I'm not sure where you'd find the Gill Golden Pippin Acorn Squash seed, but if I can find it on Baker Creek, I'll put it down there, or even on Amazon. Sometimes you can find things on Amazon or any other of your favorite seed places. But the mango beets you definitely can get at Baker Creek, and that's where I bought mine. So go ahead and check them out. I'll put a link. It's just simply rareseeds.com is the Baker Creek seeds, and they're all organic and non-GMO and heirloom seeds. Now, one of the other things, I want to say this again, that I like about Baker Creek is they do regularly check their things, especially they test them, especially if they're things that are most prone to becoming cross-pollinated or contaminated by genetically modified crops such as corn and sugar beets. And they check that. Now, this last year, I had bought some sugar beet seeds because I wanted to try them out to see if that might make a good, if I could come up with a way to grow my own sugar. And so I was getting those because they were organic and non-GMO. Well, they did a test on them, and this was after I bought them, to find out they had been contaminated from other crops. And so they sent me a letter to let me know that and refunded my money for the seeds, which I thought was very honorable and very cool for them to do. So I will always continue to do business with Baker Creek. And that's, you know, they were the first seed company I started dealing with. I hadn't heard of any others. I just did a search online years ago trying to find a place that sold only organic and heirloom seeds, and that was the first place that popped up. And they, you know, other than the occasional buying some seed local and from other people through Etsy, you know, other YouTube channels, typically I get all my seeds through Baker Creek, and I've been very happy with them. And any of the seed that hasn't done well for me, I don't blame them. I blame either my own gardening practices or the fact that our climate just is not set for those kind of things. But that doesn't mean that I don't keep trying. So you got to work with what you have, people, and you keep experimenting like I've done. Just like with the marshmallow, when I first started growing it, it took me a few years to figure it out to get it to grow here. And now it goes crazy, and I've got baby marshmallow plants coming up all over the place. So don't give up if it's something you really, really want to try. Whether, you know, carrots are still kind of a struggle for us. I just didn't want to bother with them this year because I can get organic carrots at Costco for really inexpensive. So I would just rather do that than try to waste more space to get just a small harvest of carrots when I can grow something like this really good, or I can do really good on potatoes. So, you know, potatoes do great for us. Like I would assume potatoes would do great for most everyone, but potatoes, beans do really good for us too. And beans are something I always recommend. And I do have a video just on the beans that I grow, and will still keep trying new beans, but I always keep coming back to my favorites because they do so good here. And I recommend just growing whatever bean you can find that grows well in your area. Go with that one because they're high protein. You can grow them as a pole bean, you know, a runner bean, and they can get them up off the ground and they're going to produce even more for you. And so, and then you have options to eat them as a green bean or save them and dry them and use them in things like chilies and beans and cornbread and stuff like that. So anyway, those are my recommendations for now. I do plan on having more of these videos as I talk about some of the other things I have out there that I tried new, or even things like the Marconis that I've grown before that I'm really happy with. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and it gets you thinking about what you might want to try growing in your 2020 garden. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.